still can't believe what transpired in that game, Zach.
I can't either. I tweeted it out, and honestly, like, I mean, we can't dance around this one. Like, we got to break down everything that went on based on the first period. Did it not feel like this thing might have been like a complete washing by the Habs here against the Leafs tonight? Like, at a point there, I was watching, going, and we talk about it during the game. We text each other back and forth, and it was like, can't get up for a rival. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. You don't start on time. It looked like the Leafs might have had a bigger night last night in Montreal than maybe you did here downtown Toronto. And it's like there was just no intensity, no fire. Like they didn't show up. All of a sudden, end of the first period, Ryan Reeves goes to fight Alberga, and he says, "Look at the scoreboard." And next thing you know, the game flips on its head. What the hell happened there from first period to the second, where all of a sudden in the second period you come out with some jump and it's a completely different team? Like, completely. That was you basically watched two games in one there, from first to second and third period.
It really, again, there's so many adjectives to describe the array of emotions transpired tonight in Montreal. Just befuddling is the first word that comes to mind. And I mean, in our dealings over the last year or so working together, I'm pretty level-headed when it comes to the regular season. I don't blow a gasket. I was ready to come on this show and Leafs Morning Take on Monday and just rip this team a new ass, because I don't know what the fuck that was in the first period. It was mind-numbingly bad, where they couldn't even string a pass together, whereas a collective unit outside of Joseph Woll, they were so disinterested in playing hockey. But luckily, whatever transpired in the first intermission, they woke up in the second and got really, really cooking in the third period. We've seen this rodeo before. Hell, we saw it the other night against the New Jersey Devils, where it's like the Leafs start to play hockey and they start to have some will in their game, desperation and urgency, all the buzzwords, different hockey club. And I think to an extent we saw that in this game. And again, to beat a red-hot Montreal team, Zach, who had won, 11 of 14 games before this one, like that's a pretty big win in my world.
I agree 100%. It's a pretty big win from that. And it's a pretty big win, too, because I think the conversation here tonight could have been, you just basically buried everything that you accomplished on Thursday night, where, yeah, execution maybe wasn't there to the degree that you needed, but you played Sheldon Keefe and the Devils. They come to town. It's going to be a big one. He wants that bad. The Devils are going to want it for him. And it looked like maybe that thing could have gotten kind of out of hand, especially you look at, let's take a look at the deserve to win a meter after. Not great in the Leafs' favor after, but no. They still find a way to win it. I thought effort level was there, which is something we hadn't really seen for 10 to 15 games. And then here tonight, I'm watching that one going, holy shit, we're going to have a conversation about where these guys went. And I mean, like, we can talk about that first period, but what transpires into the second and third was the big boys showing up, and it was a lot of William Nylander, who's been MIA for about 15 games, and Austin Matthews, and the guy who I think was probably the best Leaf here tonight, and maybe the reason this all started, Bobby McMahon. They basically said, fuck you, we're turning this thing around, and we're not going down without a fight, and then they score 7 unanswered here tonight. I don't know what transpired, like you said, but, I mean, this is a big win. This is a big win. Like,
yeah.
Habs fans can spin this one any way they want and turn around and let's say, oh, Nick and Zack talking about this one, big win. Oh, we're like at the bottom here. Yeah, you were down 3-0 in the first period against a red hot team in their barn, and you flipped the script on them and you said, fuck you. Like, that's an unbelievable way to go about this game here tonight. I'm kind of curious, though, like, is there a guy, a moment, something that happened here tonight that makes you look at this and say, that was the turning point? That's what that was the catalyst for this thing turning around for this Leafs team.
Yeah, a few different ones stood out for me. You referenced it. Weirdly enough, it was like the non-fight where for the first time, I think visibly this season, Ryan Reeves, at least we saw it on the screen, asked somebody to go, and it was our Jack guy. And I get it. He declined. I always get a chuckle when guys point at the scoreboard. It makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to rip on Jack guy. I think he's a hell of a player. Really, tough player, good fighter. He rocked Reeves later on in the game as well. But I thought that was a pretty polarizing moment because I thought the Leafs started to get some juice out of that. And then the other one clearly was like the 2-on-1 and Christian Dvorak goes off the crossbar, and then they come back the other way, and Bob McMahon starts to come back. Like, if you don't get that post and you don't get a couple of those saves from Joseph Woll, you were cooked. That game was completely over. So those are the two that stood out for me. How about you?
The big one for me was obviously that moment where it kind of maybe galvanized the guys in the locker room of Jack guy saying, "Look at the scoreboard." They came out for the second period too, by the way, and I think it was in the second period where Reeves gets rocked by Jack guy and like starts at that and is kind of like, oh, this is going to be embarrassing. And very quickly they shut that down. Somehow, honestly, and it's like twisted to think this way, but I feel like that might have sparked the group. You know, you saw Ryan Reeves get obliterated open ice. You're getting embarrassed. You're getting like booed every time Matthews and Nylander touch the puck. It's loud in there. And then that happens. There was a play where Austin Matthews jumps down in the forecheck and lays a hit on, I think it might have been Courier in the corner. I could be wrong about who the guy was, but like he jumps in on the play, delivers that, and then I'm watching McMahon go in there hard on the forecheck and start to make the life of the defenseman like living hell, basically. Seemed like it kind of changed the dynamic of the game for this team where you started to head back in the direction of Craig Berube hockey. You know, it didn't fully get there, but you started to move that way after the first period because we watched for a long time here now. And when I say long time, I'm talking weeks, Nick. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but it felt like this team lost its identity. Like not struggling to find it, lost, gone. And then it's after that first period, we started to move back in the right direction. I don't know if you're kind of on the same page of that one.
Yeah, I feel like in general, they're just missing like that piss and vinegar, that jam, right? Like this is not the toughest team in the league, but the way they played at bits and pieces in the first half of the year, you're like, man, like they're playing with some balls. They're playing Craig Berube hockey. They're being physical. The after the whistle skirmishes have gone away. Like it just, every game and every shift has blended into each other. And I think that's concerning. And I think naturally leaving this game tonight, you know, first and foremost, great. You score 7 unanswered goals, 7 different goal scorers. You come back. Joe Woll was great. So many positives. How do you build upon this is my question moving forward. How do you find that consistency? Because again, you know, it is what it is, but that first period in my world was unacceptable. Like, I don't know how you don't show up, start on time, hockey day in Canada. You're playing the Montreal Canadiens. They're red hot. Like every reason to be ready for that hockey game. And Zach, again, that was like 2.5 hours ago. I have no clue what happened, what these guys were thinking. Like they couldn't even string a pass together. How do you go from, I think that's the question in Leafs Nation. How do you go from witnessing what we saw there in the first period to the third period where they had the puck all period and like every shot went in? Like it makes no sense. And that's why a level of it excites you because you see the potential when these guys actually start playing hockey the way they did in the third period here.
For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.